Hello, everybody, and good morning. Thank you so much for tuning into the show yet again. I'm here to tell you guys that it is about time that you follow or subscribe to the show wherever you listen. I know y'all are out there listening, and you're not subscribing, and you're not following the show, and I don't like that kind of behavior. You guys know I'm tired of working these garbage jobs, wasting my time. The links are in the description of the show wherever you listen. All the links, all the social media links, all the different platforms. Wherever you listen, all I ask is to subscribe, to follow. Please, please, I'm begging you, subscribe, follow, and most importantly, enjoy today's episode. Dion, my friend, thank you for coming on the show, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, man. So how you been? I haven't been, I'm out of the loop a little bit when it comes to training and the local scene and shit like that. You're obviously out of Triforce. That's kind of where we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same old. I'm always in the gym training, teaching.
Right.
There's actually a lot of people.
That's what I hear. I hear it's mobbed in there now.
There's a lot of people. A lot of people that stuck with it and were able to get like blue belts. Some people even are climbing into purple belts and stuff like that. But there was a big influx of people after like the uplifting of the quarantining.
Right.
From 2020?
Yeah. That probably got people excited to come back or start, for some people. Now you said you teach. I've always said that, and maybe you'll agree, teaching kind of helps you learn a little better, even if it's the basic shit. Like it's just good to kind of run through that.
No, I agree. One way I always explain to people about teaching, because I started teaching little kids.
Yep.
And now I run a class of teenagers, but I also teach a few adult classes, and I'll even cover some adult classes. So one thing you understand is everybody learns differently, and everybody thinks about things differently. So you can show something, but that doesn't mean everybody's going to understand what you're trying to tell them. And you got to kind of sometimes go over the gist of it at first, and then if you notice there's a problem that a majority of people are having, address that problem.
Right.
Because those little things become hard to see, especially when you're trying to, like, you want to finish an arm bar, but you're not getting it. It's like, all right, why aren't you? But people are like, I need to do it harder instead of, like, pull the arm a little more. But especially with kids, like, I try to tell kids to make certain movements, and they're like, I don't know how to do that. Or they don't really know their own anatomy yet. So I'll be like, put your hand on the hip, and they like don't know what a hip is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's difficult, but it helps simplify things for you too. And you figure out like little things that will make your own technique better.
Right, yeah. Especially for kids, they take in so much. They're like sponges. Do you think it's tougher to teach adults or kids?
It depends.
Yeah.
It's individual.
Right.
There are some people that will come, join, and not really stick with it. Maybe it's because they don't really adhere to what's being taught and the principles behind what's being taught, and I guess the principles of the gym itself, because every gym's different.
Right.
Every instructor is going to be different. But it's when you have a collective under a single school or an affiliation where you start to see they're more like-minded and they teach more similar and they have the same kind of thought processes about things. But I feel like, especially with jiu-jitsu, where we have the society we have where, macho man, everybody lifts weights because they want to be strong.
Right.
You remember Dan Cormier.
Sure.
Right, our Dan Cormier. He's a little tiny dude, but he can...
He'll wrap you up.
Even I've seen him mess with like the biggest dudes and they can't do anything against him.
Right.
The strength doesn't necessarily matter when it comes to jiu-jitsu. When skill is comparative, right?
Sure.
If me and you are going at it and we're at the same level, that's where the strength and speed and endurance starts to take place. But being a musclehead doesn't work when you're really fighting, and especially when it comes to like jiu-jitsu. You can't muscle out of getting choked.
Yeah. Flex the shit out of your neck. No. It's not happening. No, but you mentioned principles, and principles, especially when you're learning something new, that shit is arguably most important over, a move. People like to say, I learned this new move. I want to learn a new move. It's like, get the principle, and then there's plenty of routes that you can go with it.
Yeah, that's my instructor out of Triforce, my head instructor, Pete Jeffrey.
Yep.
That's pretty much his emphasis on jiu-jitsu. It's position before submission. If you can't get to mount or the back or side control, whatever, right? If you can't get to this position and you want to go for the submission, you're really, your chances of getting it aren't really good, especially when you're going against other people that are trained too.
Right.
If you're going against, your average Joe on the street, you might be able to just jump into an arm bar. But like if you don't set it up the right way, it's not going to work.
Right.
Nobody's just sitting out there with their arms just hanging, trying to hit you off their back. Like people, that doesn't work.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's probably why the Danaher Death Squad is as filthy as they are, because I don't know if you follow him on Instagram or social media or whatever, but John Danaher is always posting different videos or different pictures of, hey, once Gordon Ryan, or what's the other dude, the other big broad kid that came from wrestling, Nicky Rod, and he's saying like, all right, match is over because he got this position. That's it. He's got, whatever specific thing that led him to get the submission. So they really focus on control and getting to the next step before they don't just jump on subs, which is, I think, an incredibly effective way to make it happen.
At the top levels, that's not going to work, jumping for something.
Right. It's very rare.
And like you said, that control is what's important. If you're really doing your job when it comes down to the objective of grappling, which is to dominate, to exasperate your opponent, to finish them, to just overall, have your way with them.
Right.
That's your job when you go out there, especially top level competitors, whether it's Gordon Ryan or anybody in the UFC, right? So you everything's a setup. So like if I get mount, I may try for an armbar out of it or whatever, but it's probably a setup. When anything, now me being a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, I've kind of like been working that more. It's like whatever I go for, I was doing that as purple belt too, but now it's a big emphasis. But
right.
Whatever I go for, I'm trying to make you mess up. And I want you to fall into another trap. Maybe you end up giving me something else. Mm-hmm. So like I have a lot of A, B, C game plans where I can easily go back, or I can go to the other side and still attack the same thing. You know what I mean? So I've been working that a little bit. So I completely agree. You can't jump for things. You have to set things up. You have to have control. If you can't control, the more you control, to elaborate a little bit, but the more you control somebody, the more you're going to make them panic a bit.
Yeah, make them uncomfortable.
Yeah, the more they're uncomfortable is when they start giving up things.
Yeah. That's one of the most effective in all forms of combat, grappling, striking. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most effective principles. It's like either it's you're overwhelming them or you're controlling the fuck out of them, and they're going to make a mistake, and you jump right on that. That's some of the best shit to watch. I don't know if you're familiar with the wrestler Frank Chamizo, or Chamizo, however you pronounce his name.
I think so.
Yeah, he's Cuban, Italian. I don't know what he is, but he that's a lot of the way he wrestles. And he's incredibly effective. Beat Jordan Burroughs, and he it's a lot of it is I'm just going to overwhelm you with head taps and different setups. I'm going to pull you this way, drag you this way, and then you're going to shoot because you're getting irritated, more or less. And then I'm going to sprawl, spin behind, get my 2. And that's one of the, you see it in boxing or striking, the same thing. I'm just going to pop, pop, pop. The Diaz brothers, they do that shit all day. Pop, pop, pop. And then shrink, bang, stick you with something. So it's incredibly effective. Yeah. I love that shit. Now, you just said you're a brown belt. Mm-hmm. How long you been a brown belt? Because I think when I was there, you were probably a blue belt. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but you were around blue belt. But brown belt, that's substantial, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I ended up getting my my brown belt maybe a week or two. It was like within 2 weeks after my professional debut in August.
Oh, okay.
At the end of August. Yeah, it was nice to get. So I'm on my way to my goal of becoming a black belt. But I always feel like I would have been able to get to it at least a year earlier.
Gotcha.
Because of the quarantine.
Right. Yeah.
So that took away from a lot of people. Some people it took away longer because certain states, they did their own thing.
Right.
But yeah, I ended up getting it then after the fight, which was good because that fight helped me help boost my confidence a bit.
Right. So your first pro fight you said was in August, and that was for Cage Titans, correct?
Yep.
And you were competing for them up until that point in the amateurs, right? Mm-hmm. So this one coming up in March is your first CES event?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking dope, man.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited.
Yeah.
People have been asking me for years, when you're going to fight here?
Yeah.
When you're going to fight in Prov? When you're going to fight at the casino? So, now's the time. It's cool. For 5 years, I was going there to watch teammates fight.
Yeah.
So now it's my turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big promotion. At one point, it was like one of the biggest, before all these other ones started popping up, it was one of the bigger promotions in the country. Mm-hmm. So that's and it's right in our backyard. That's fucking dope, man. Do you know if it's going to be at the casino? Because I know the last one was at PCTA.
No, this one, it's at the, it says Twin River, the Bally Center.
Right.
That ballroom, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was Bally's, if that is the one. The same exact location.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know the name of it. I just walked in all the time.
Yeah.
But now I know. You know what I mean? Now I'm actually there. I get to to be backstage. So it'll be a cool experience.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm excited.
Are there you got other teammates competing the same night?
Yep.
Who else?
There's Ty.
Oh, Ty's fighting the same night.
De Silva.
Oh, dope.
Yep, he's making his return to the CES cage.
Yeah.
He's looking to go 2-0. I'm looking to go 2-0. There's also Gary Boletto.
Okay.
He's co-main eventing with against Billy Goff for the title.
Right.
CES title. And then Andre Sukumtat is headlining the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andre's the OG.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the king of this, king of CES for a while. He was fucking people up. Now, what the fuck was I going to ask you? Gary, I had a funny story about Gary. I obviously re-met him at Triforce, super nice guy. But I watched him fight when I was a kid. I watched him in a boxing match. It might have been amateur. I'm not really sure. But it was, I don't know if you ever heard the story of him. He fought a guy in a boxing match, but like hit him with an elbow because it was when he started training MMA and he got disqualified.
I think I've heard of it.
And they fought again. And I watched that fight. I watched the rematch, and Gary won, obviously, clean. I think he finished the kid. But it was just funny because the guys I went with were telling me the story. And I'm like, damn, he's a bad motherfucker. And then I end up seeing him at Triforce training fucking people up.
Yeah, that's no joke. Gary's a bad man. Gary's a bad man.
Yeah. I think I asked Tyron the same thing when he was on here, but is there any different preparation, whether it be mental or physical or anything, from going from the amateurs to pro, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a bit different all around. I mean, one, time limit. It's 5 minutes.
Oh, shit. So what are AMI fights?
3.
3-minute rounds.
At least the ones that I've done were always 3.
Okay.
But pro's 5. So I've done a amateur title fight.
Yeah.
Where it went all 5 rounds. So that was 3-5. So it was 15 minutes of fighting, which is a regular 3 rounds at pro.
Right.
It's 5 threes. So I know I can do it. And normally, I mean, you were there too with us training for a while. You know, we're always doing at least 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Nothing's ever less.
Right.
So rounds are normally 5 minutes, even sparring. So for amateur, it was a little different because you didn't have as much time. You had to work a little faster.
Yeah.
Now with pros, you can play around a little bit, but you still got to be active. You know, you still need to control and everything. Be aggressive, throw things, connect. But besides the time, it's a whole different ball game with knees and elbows to the face.
Sure, yeah. So is that really the biggest difference when it comes to techniques that are allowed? Elbows and knees, and as far as you know, I know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. You know, there's also all heel hooks and stuff, but I've been training those since I was a white belt. Really, I was always diligent on wanting to be smart about it and have the knowledge of it, not be backtracked. You know what I mean?
Right.
Be a higher rank and then starting to work at it. I wanted to progress as I progressed through everything else. You know?
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried about the leg locks. Knees to the head, elbows, those are different. There's a whole different ballgame.
Another thing to look out for. Because a lot of the times in training, I mean, you can throw knees mostly to the body, but you rarely spar with elbows, you know, unless you get the pads, the elbow pads.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. Before I ask that question, you had mentioned how early on you were already kind of watching out for heel hooks and that type of thing. I've always been an advocate, because I've been in the martial arts since I was 5 years old, but I've always been an advocate of like, okay, there's a skill set or there's a rule set that we're kind of abiding by right now, but if you get me in some shit, it's still my fault. Like, I should be prepared. I should be having these habits kind of already. Yeah. Because one of my smokers, obviously in the smokers, you're not allowed to knee to the face, but I got kneed in the face because I got kneed in the nuts, and then I bent over, got kneed in the face. So 2 illegal shots. But if I had just gotten kneed in the face, or fuck that, if you're in the street, because that's what I always go to, if you're in a street fight, a real self-defense situation, no one's going to say you can't knee to the nuts before you knee me in the face, you know? So in my mind, it's like, I got to be ready for all that shit. Which is why sometimes when you see jiu-jitsu guys immediately sit down or pull guard immediately, it's like, do you want to really do that in the street when a guy can pound the fuck out of you and behind you is pavement? Like, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I wear Timbs. We grew up wearing Timbs. Sometimes, depends, you know, if I'm maybe even in the summer on a cool night, I might wear some Timbs with some jeans, you know?
Yeah.
It's summertime, you know, you're more likely to try to sit guard than if it's snow.
Yeah.
You might sit guard unintentionally, slipping on some ice, trying to fight. But yeah, I agree. You know, that's only gonna go so far, and you don't know if somebody has a weapon.
That's the other thing.
You can't sit guard.
Yeah. Do you follow Jocko Willink? Big Navy dude.
I know who he is.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the clips I see and things from him, and I'll watch videos from him, but I don't really follow too many people like that, honestly. I try not to really be on social media, which is hard.
Well, that's a smart thing to do.
In today's day, especially like I'm not posting videos of myself in the gym all the time.
Right.
Oh, look at me, I'm doing drills on the bag. You know, I don't care for that, because the time I'm investing in that is time I should be invested in training.
Training, right.
I'm not trying to be the best Instagram fighter. You know what I mean? Yeah. So social media is not really for me, but I do have it because of fighting, ironically.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the double-edged sword. It's like now there's so many fighters that are able to market themselves outside of fighting and just the promotion itself. But it's true. I mean, how much of that is time that's kind of being, in a sense, wasted? Because your bread and butter is fighting. You know, Instagram and social media and promoting yourself, that's part of the game too.
Yeah.
But maybe 10% of it. You know, the other 90% is training and eating right and recovery and all that shit. That shit's most important. Game planning, all that.
Of course.
But I brought up Jocko because he's a Navy SEAL, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, big fucking hulking animal of a man. And he's like, you want to know what I'll do in a street situation if you're a fucking somebody who wants to fight me? I'll run away. I have no problem running away because all the things that, even if I knock you out and you smash your head on the concrete and you come back and you have brain damage and you sue me, that shit wasn't worth it at all. So, and same thing with weapons. I mean, if you can get the fuck out of Dodge, that's more or less the better option in the street if we're being real. You know? Yeah. If you have to defend yourself, that's one thing. Now, when you started at Triforce, you wrestled, correct, in high school? Was that kind of your background coming in?
Yeah, mostly. You know, played sports my whole life.
Right.
Started with baseball at 4. Quit by the time I was 8. Tried a little bit again when I was 13, but yeah, baseball was boring.
Right.
Started playing football when I was 6, maybe even earlier. I don't even know. Earliest I can remember is 6. Played all the way through high school. Always adamant about football.
Yeah, that was your thing.
Now, not so much, you know.
Yeah.
Getting into high school, a lot of factors kind of like ruined it for me. But I found wrestling my freshman year of high school. And then I did a little bit of club at URI, but it didn't really work out like that. So I ended up meeting Dan Cormier one day in the workout world in East Providence.
Okay.
And he told me about the gym, and then a whole year later, I ended up joining up. So.
Yeah, wrestling is some of the toughest shit I've ever done. I mean, I wrestled in high school and middle school. That shit is terrible. Yeah. I mean, just because of how often you do it, like day in and day out, you gotta
maintain weight.
Yeah, maintain weight. You're doing the Shark Tank drills, and especially if you start when you're in high school. Like, I was fortunate I started a little earlier, but even then, there's kids in North Providence where I more or less grew up. There's kids who start there's a youth program. North Providence is a big wrestling town for whatever reason.
I remember going to a meet. I went to school in Toma, Pawtucket. Yep. I went to what school was it? We went to a meet, maybe Smithfield, maybe Ponegant.
Yep.
And we're wrestling. And before, like, we get into the school, we walk in through the front door, we walk into the locker rooms, and we see in like another room, like a little mini gym room, a bunch of like little 3-year-old kids.
Yeah.
With little ass wrestling booties on and shit. And I was like, yo, we don't got that in the hood.
Right.
I was like, we don't have none of this. I was like, damn. I was like, I wish I started doing this when I was a little kid.
Yeah. Instead of baseball at 4, you just started wrestling at 4.
I would have loved it. I grew up watching WWE.
Yeah, that's what got me into it.
I love that. The Rock was my favorite. The Rock and Stone Cold had the best matchups.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what got a lot of people into wrestling as kids. They're like, damn, because I remember when I was a fucking kid, I'm like, I want to wrestle. And then as soon as we moved to North Providence and I knew they had a wrestling team, I'm like, I know it's not the same shit, but it's close.
I mean, it's a way into it. I mean, Kurt Angle.
Yeah. Gold medalist. Mm-hmm. Chris Benoit, Sheldon, well, not to bring up Chris Benoit, but Sheldon Benjamin and some of the other guys, you know. That's kind of how they got into it. So, did you wrestle all throughout high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrestled all 4 years. I placed 5th in states my junior year.
Nice.
So that was a pretty big accomplishment. And I wanted to get a medal my senior year. But I ended up getting hurt before the tournament.
Yep.
And then getting hurt in the tournament.
Oh, fuck.
So it was a little hard to wrestle, but I wrestled hard anyways.
Yeah.
You know, I had to finish. I think I placed like 8th or something like that, you know. But it was a lot of political bullshit. Where, like, Rhode Island runs it funny. State tournament and regional tournaments and stuff like that. You know, we're small.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't really have, like, regional tournaments or divisionals. But I always found it messed up, especially when I started seeing, like, Pennsylvania, you know, New Jersey, all the other states, they have their sectionals, teams, individuals, states, regionals, all that. Where every year, up until my junior year, my freshman, sophomore, and senior year, we had to go, because we were D2, we had to go into sectionals. So we had to qualify for sectionals. Then we had to place in sectionals to make it to states. While all the D1 kids, no matter their record,
You just went right
into states. So junior year, they got rid of that. And a lot of people from D2 won or placed very high.
Wow.
So I don't know. That, for me, you know, I'm conspiracy theory a little bit. Conspiracy theorist a bit. But I definitely think it was a little political.
Right.
That they brought it back my senior year. And I ended up getting hurt in that tournament.
Damn.
My senior year when they brought back the section. So I got hurt. And while everybody from D1 gets a nice break, you know, not really a break, but they're training still, but they don't have to worry about a tournament. They're not trying to make weight.
Yeah.
They're chilling. I have to get ready for a tournament, train hard, ready for a tournament because I need a place to make it to the state tournament. Then I get hurt. Then I got to keep training the week after while everybody else was chilling.
Yeah, that we were fortunate because we were a D1 team. Mm-hmm. So
I wrestled some good kids from North Prov, though.
Yeah.
I wrestled a lot. I wrestled 160.
Okay.
So I wrestled a lot of good kids from North Prov.
Yeah. They my freshman year. I mean, how old are you?
I'll be 28 in March.
Oh, okay. So you're what, 3 years older than me. So my freshman year would have been your senior year. That makes sense. Junior year, something.
Yeah, I graduated 2012.
Okay. Yeah. That's when I was a freshman. So that was the best team that my coach had ever had ever. They placed 4th in the state overall. We had like 6 place finishers. Murph was on the team. Mike Murphy. Yeah. Like, man, he's a fucking animal. He's 3-time state champ, 1 year freshman, and then sophomore and senior. And the kid he lost to was a fucking animal. Vincente, you know, Jose Vincente. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that dude's a beast.
Yeah, he was good.
But yeah, we were just fortunate. We had
Yeah, because I think Mike's like a year or 2 younger than me.
Yeah.
And I think I remember that match when he lost.
Yeah, it's brutal.
That was a good match.
Yeah, he was also the first kid from North Providence to win the Sanford Maine tournament. I don't know if Tolman went to that, but it was the guys who won that tournament and placed high pretty much were the guys who were going to win New England's or come close to it.
Nice. No, yeah, we didn't really wrestle that much out of state or like do too many tournaments. We did like the Smithfield Invitational.
Yep.
And there was like another one. I can't remember what other tournament.
Cumberland used to do one. Maybe you guys went to Cumberland.
No, Vets.
Vets, okay.
We did Vets tournament.
Michael Myers.
Yeah. I've watched him.
Yeah.
For a couple times, and he
was an animal.
Rest in peace to him. But,
right.
He was. I watched because I remember I think the Labrie twins.
Yes. Another.
Because I knew their dad a little bit in passing. You know, whenever he would see me, he was always like, always welcoming, always giving me advice. You know, he raised 2 studs.
Yeah.
To stud athletes, and I'm pretty sure he competed himself. But I always wanted to get work with him, and I knew that they did like a whole bunch of off-season tournaments, and then the summer they traveled and stuff. I always wish I could have did that with them.
Yeah.
But I remember, I forget which one of his sons. I think I think the older one was heavier. I can't remember, but it was my junior year, and his son was up in the finals against Mike Myers. Yes. And it's my senior year, right?
That's a phenomenal.
So it started off as a good match, but it ended fast too.
Really?
That's how much of a savage Mike was.
Wow, he stuck him.
Because this kid, I think this was the Bree twins. It either was their freshman or sophomore year. I really can't remember. But he went through everybody, and then he goes up against Mike, and he ends up getting behind Mike and gets around his waist. Mike literally just reaches between his legs, grabs his leg, pulls it up, and sits on him and gets the pin. Like, it was so easy. I'm like, yo, I've never seen anything like this. I was like, yo, he was a savage. He was a beast.
Yeah, Warwick Vets was another savage fucking team. I remember, what was his name? Schmieder? John Schmieder or whatever his name was.
I went against Schmieder.
Did you?
Yeah,
he was a freak too.
He was a little dirty, though.
Yeah, he would slap the shit out of people.
He was a little dirty, because I remember it was for a tournament, and I went against... Wait, was it him? No. Did he always do that roll through? He put the inside hook, came around the top, and rolled you over the top? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Maybe. He clubbed super hard. Like, anytime he would try to set up a takedown, he would club the shit out of you in the back of the head, slap you.
I don't know if
hard.
that's exactly what I'm thinking about, so let me retract my statement.
But he wrestled at 160.
Yeah, I think I wrestled him. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure if it's who I'm thinking of. No, because I remember one kid, he used to do... he did it to everybody. It was some kind of roll.
It might have been him.
I think it was Schmieder.
Yeah.
I can't remember. He would lace his leg inside.
Right.
Inside your leg. And he would come from back. And he would come over the top and get over the head and the arm. And he would roll under and put you on your back from there. Damn. And he would hold your leg so you couldn't get the pin on that. So I was training a little bit to defend against that. And I went up against him, and he's trying to do it to me. And I based out hard, strong, and he couldn't roll me. And he started digging his hands and fingers into my muscles and underneath the muscles and everything. I still wouldn't budge.
Right.
I'm like, all right, this is how we're gonna play. I was like, you're one of those ones I've always heard about. Okay. Yeah.
That happens a lot in wrestling.
All the oil checks and
Yeah, that's fucked up that even has a name. But there was always like little things. Like I remember there was a kid on the team. He was on his stomach, and he was on my team, and we were at Mount Greylock in the Berkshires, and kid was like motorcycle riding him. Mm-hmm. So he was flat on his stomach, and he grabbed the kid's hands and tucked him under here. Got a holding, what is it, locked hands call? Like just pulled that shit. Might have not even locked his hands, but the ref can't see if you're laying on him. Yeah. So it's like he just pulled his shit while he was on the bottom and said, bing, locked hands, got out, got a point. It's funny. I used to do that shit too. If someone's behind me and like, I just put both my hands on the ground. Wow, fuck you. Let me get out of this shit.
I mean, hey, you gotta play the rules, right?
Yeah, that's the opposite of what we were talking about earlier. But when it comes, you do some fucked up shit to win, I guess, sometimes. Especially in, like we're saying, in wrestling.
Yeah, but it's circumstantial too.
Right.
On the whole aspect of whether you're playing rules or not. If there is a rule set, then, you gotta play them. Yeah. If there is no rule set, don't play by rules.
Yeah. But I wanted to bring up Schmieder because you were talking about how Mike Myers did that shit. But he was wrestling, I think it was my sophomore year, he was wrestling in the finals against a kid, I don't remember his first name. His last name was Gallagher.
I went against him.
From Narragansett.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he was. He ended up winning the year after. Mm-hmm.
But we had some good matches. I think we went down there. Funny story about that. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
This is a funny story. I think this was my junior year. And they were in our division because they were D202, I believe.
Right. They had a small team.
Yeah. And I had been preparing for this, training hard, working some of my techniques, trying to defend against some of the stuff that he could do as best as my teammates could, emulate it. And it's hanging out after school, we didn't leave. People are hanging out, some girls from the basketball team went and got like Chinese food, and I was good for weight, so I was like, let me have a little bit of this.
Yeah.
Right. I end up getting food poisoning.
No.
Right. So I go to this match, and I'm still on weight, no problem with weight. So I had a little bit of like General Tso, whatever chicken it is.
Yeah.
And, I'm fine. I hit the scale and everything. Then it's time, getting ready for the match. And it didn't hit me until like I stepped on the mats though. I stepped on the mats for the match. We shook, and my body just shut down. Oh. Like I tried shooting like once or twice, and then after that I just couldn't move. Like I just shot in, and he like sprawled me. I couldn't finish the takedown, nothing. And he was trying to do everything in his power to like turn me, pin me. He ended up winning points.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't budge. I literally wouldn't let him turn me. I put everything I could and whenever I could, but
right.
I ended up like throwing up later on that night, like waking up in the middle of the night, puking my brains out, and I had food poisoning, so fucked up that match. I could have won that possibly.
Yeah,
but he was good.
If you went to points with that kid and you were sick, I mean, that would have been probably a pretty competitive match if you weren't sick,
Yeah.
But him and Schmieder were in the finals.
I heard about that.
And it was, they were tied. Mm. And they went right into overtime, and off the whistle, Gallagher shoots a inside single. And Schmieder pulls a spladle. And obviously a spladle.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I think I saw that.
Kind of hard to pin somebody.
That was your freshman year?
That was my sophomore year because I was injured.
I think I went to the state tournament and watched.
Yeah.
That year because I was already out of high school. Because I remember that.
Yeah.
That was sick.
And but the thing is the kid, he wasn't going to pin himself, and sometimes it's tough to pin someone with a spladle, so he just sat there in a spladle for the whole period, taking his headgear off, just shaking his fucking head with his nuts basically in his own face. And the whole 3 minutes or 2 minute period, whatever it is, in overtime, kid was just sitting there. And then it was kind of a fucking shitty way to lose. But he came back and won the next year, so it's all worth it, I guess.
You learn.
Yeah.
That's all you can do when you lose.
Yeah. Now, did you find when you started BJJ that wrestling gave you a pretty solid fucking grappling base? Because I felt that way.
A base, yes.
Yeah.
But it made me overzealous.
Yeah, because wrestling is just go, go, go the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember training jiu-jitsu in my 5.5 years. Training MMA in general in the 5.5 years I've been doing it. I've been put to sleep. I stopped counting, but I'd say if not 10, it's maybe like 10 or 11 times.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years, like even before quarantine since I've been put to sleep. But I remember doing like King of the Guard and CES vet and former CES lightweight champion Nate Andrews.
Yep.
I'm trying to work hard to pass his guard, and he throws up a triangle. And I had learned pretty basic triangle defense. The whole one where you like stand up and turn the knee in.
Right.
Didn't work for me. I obviously didn't do it right.
Yeah.
But to this day, I still don't use that escape. But Nate put me to sleep.
Right.
Next thing I know, I had like a little dream. I was like, I can't even remember what the dream was, but I remember like it was like I was alive.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I feel my legs shaking, and I look and Pete's just shaking my legs. And he's like, "You all right?" I'm like, Yeah. I hop up. I try to go back in line. He's like, "No, go sit."
Yeah. So, take a break.
That was one of the like second or third time getting put to sleep. After that was like, okay, let me focus a little on jiu-jitsu. Let me leave the wrestling in the back,
right,
up in the attic for a little while.
Yeah,
I'll come back to it after.
Yeah, that's the biggest adjustment. Not only learning to fight off your back, because there's none of that in wrestling. It's a bridge and that's it. But also understanding that in jiu-jitsu there's moments of nobody's really doing anything, or you're doing things, but you guys are just kind of negating each other at the moment. Whereas in wrestling, you motherfuckers going back and forth for the whole time. It's explosive as hell. That's like the biggest adjustment.
Yeah. There's people's games in jiu-jitsu that are like that too.
Yeah, sure.
So it's always fun to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because they a lot of times do it in a jiu-jitsu way, which I feel like when you're trying to jiu-jitsu really hard, you can kind of beat that when you wrestle really hard.
Okay. That's it, yeah.
But if you're wrestling really hard and the person's kind of like chilling out with their jiu-jitsu, like active though, they're proactive, but they're chilling.
Yeah.
They're gonna do better.
Right.
But when they're trying to do it super hard, they're trying to catch you, they're trying to sweep you hard. Good wrestling's gonna win every time.
Yeah.
So wrestling's a lot of hips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of postural control.
Yeah. I found that was the biggest thing. It's like I'd be in somebody's guard and they're trying to sweep the hell out of me all different ways, and it's like nope, sit back. Like that's the biggest advantage. That's why in MMA fights, a lot of people want to watch the wrestler versus the jiu-jitsu guy, because a wrestler is in an MMA fight very content. A lot of them are content with sitting in your guard and just smashing you, passing when they can and smashing you. And jiu-jitsu guys are content with being on their back, defending and trying to sweep and move and that type of thing. So it's always an interesting matchup.
Well, I mean, if you look at who is it? Hickson Gracie.
Yeah.
His jiu-jitsu was simple.
Yeah.
Even in MMA, he'd break you from guard.
Yeah.
From being on top in your guard. You don't need to do anything fancy, especially because there's punches involved.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
there's knees to the body. Or if you're in Pride, there was knees to the head.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But there's elbows to the head, elbows to the body, punches to the body, and head to the legs.
Yeah.
You don't have to just only punch somebody. You don't only just have to hit them in the face. There's a whole entire body to beat down.
Right.
To weigh out. So one thing that I try to think, and it's something that Pete teaches with MMA, is you don't always have to do what the other person's doing. If they're trying to wrestle, hit them.
Yeah. Exactly.
If they're trying to hit you, go back to your wrestling, your jiu-jitsu stuff. Go back to the things that are going to keep you safe. Be able to allow you to create space, work your way back to a dominant position. Right? You can't just, if you play their game, that's what they want. That's what they've been working to do. Mm-hmm. So don't play their game.
Right. That's what makes MMA the most interesting of all the fighting, the combat sports, is because there's so many different ways to fight. There's so many different ways to compete in there. Mm-hmm. And both guys have game plans, both guys have strengths and weaknesses, and they're trying to exploit the other guy's weaknesses and employ their strengths. So that's a great philosophy to have. Like, and to go back to Hickson, his quote, what was it? I'm weak when you're strong, and I'm strong when you're weak. And it's that thing where it's like you're trying to do all these intricate sweeps, and you're really trying to muscle. It goes back to when we were talking about muscling, and you got a guy who's just kind of flowing. You know, he's keeping the hips. Max Holloway does a great job of it when he's on top of a guy. He just kind of hovers. So that's very effective philosophy, I would say.
It's patience.
Yeah.
It's patience.
Now, was your introduction to striking an MMA, or did you do any striking, martial arts before that?
Not martial arts.
Just fighting.
A couple fights growing up.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious. I wasn't fighting all the time.
Sure. It happens.
Yeah. Well, it was a couple times for fun. Couple people, we just wanted to box, so we did. But no, I was like kind of like trained a little bit as a kid. Nothing like in a gym, kind of as I got raised. Passed down through generations. My dad showed me some stuff. My grandfather showed him some stuff. from what I was told, my grandfather I think he got golden gloves in Colombia.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
It's funny how years ago, boxing was like the way to fight. Like, if you did any weird shit, there was wrestling. It was like Olympic wrestling. But people weren't anticipating that in street fights. People weren't anticipating kicks until, Bruce Lee took over the scene and shit and started flying through the air. But boxing was like the respected way to fight. If you were a boxer, you were probably the combat athlete that everyone was like, that guy will fuck people up.
Yeah, street fights are styled after boxing.
Yeah.
It's all rounds.
Exactly.
They give you like a split 10-second break while the two people fighting are just talking shit to each other.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, all right, go fight, round two. It's like, it's a fight. There's no rounds, there's no judge. Just let people fight.
Right.
Somebody gets tired and they get slept because they're tired, then, hit the gym.
Right. That's what happens.
Hit the gym. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Whereas today, you don't know what anybody knows. Like,
not even that, man. It's not even what people know either. It's too much violence.
Right.
Where people don't want to fight. And so they use weapons.
Yes.
And we've been seeing that a lot. It's kind of sad.
Well, a lot of the people that start fights, whether it's with weapons or not, a lot of them don't understand. Well, maybe the people with weapons do, but a lot of the loudmouth fucking idiots that start fights are the ones that probably never got their ass beat. They don't understand the extent of what violence can actually bring. Like, you might think, hey, me and you are going to fight, but if you fuck me up, there's 3 other guys that I came with that just either watched it go down or going to jump in, and you might be alone. Mm-hmm. Or like you said, I might have a weapon. Or you could knock me the fuck out, give me brain damage, and I, sue the fuck out of you. That's also a result of violence. And a lot of the guys that start fights in clubs and these loudmouth guys that are looking for conflict, I don't think they understand what can really happen in real life, in a real combat situation.
I always feel like it's not necessarily like people don't understand, because they do understand, in my opinion. It's they don't care.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
That's a good point, too.
For whatever reason, they don't care. Whether they're angry about that day.
Yeah.
They're angry about their life. They're angry about a certain situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the lack of empathy, the lack of caring.
Yeah. And awareness in the moment. And we're also forgetting a big factor. They could be intoxicated of some kind. You know what I'm saying?
All reason goes out the window, yeah.
Yeah. Especially if it's the right thing, alcohol. Because obviously there's certain things you can do that aren't as destructive as alcohol. In fact, they might even be good for you. And it's funny that alcohol is the legal one. But anyway. Yeah.
It's money. That's why we're also seeing, it was prohibited, but then, they make shows, they make movies, they talk about it. It's in history.
Sure.
Mobs are still doing it. The federal government was involved with it somehow, some way, with whether it was bigger people or just, like local representatives that were involved in that shit too. It's money. Yeah. And then eventually it comes back around because you know what? Hey, we could actually be making a lot of money off of this.
Yeah, more than we are now.
So that's kind of like what's going on with like marijuana.
Right.
It's like, hey, let's lock all these people up for years, decades. Oh, hey, we can make a lot of money off of this.
Right. Let's leave those people in there, though. That's the most fucked up part. Like, imagine you got locked up in, like, the 80s or something when there were real... And you were in, I don't know, Oklahoma or something, where there's a real stringent law. And then it's 2020, and people are telling you, hey, you can go to the store and buy weed now. Moms smoke weed, Like, there's treatments for children that involve marijuana or, cannabis.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I've been locked in here for 40 years, and I had, some minute amount of weed on me. It is fucked up. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about it on the news. It all comes down to what the laws were, not what they are now.
Yeah.
You broke the law then.
Yeah.
You know, now it would have been fine.
Yeah.
That gram that locked you up in Oklahoma would have been fine now.
Yeah.
But 30 years ago, 40 years ago, not according to the laws. You broke it, so you still gotta do your time for what's okay now.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't know if you ever watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I've never finished it.
Yeah. There's a moment in that movie where it's right after Johnny Depp talks about all the drugs they have in their briefcase, and they're driving on the highway and they pass a big billboard that says 20 years to life in Vegas for possession of marijuana, and it was just a funny moment because it's like, holy shit, in whatever that was, 68, you get put away for marijuana, and these two guys are going to a fucking a hotel where there's going to be a police convention, and they got a big thing of drugs, a lot of drugs. Crazy fucking movie. But, and crazy times in general. But something I always ask fighters, what is the weight cutting process? You look like you don't get too blown up. What do you fight at, first of all, I should ask you?
I fight lightweight 155.
155. Yeah, so is there like... do you kind of have it down to I don't want to say a science, but like a protocol, a routine that helps you kind of cut weight?
Yeah, there's like for the most part, everybody in Triforce, we kind of follow the same process, more or less. You know, certain people have their own more tailored. Obviously, everybody's going to tailor it to themselves, but we more or less follow the same process. So I walk around like 70, 75.
That's really not bad.
No,
Yeah.
but which is the funny thing, because now I'm getting paid. I could cut down lower, which might be a future venture.
Right.
Because there's guys that cut to 55 from 190, 200.
Yeah, brutal.
I only cut 15, 20 sometimes. They're cutting 30, 40 pounds. It's insane.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just slowly control what it is I'm eating. So, like, if I'm training and I don't have a fight coming up, I'll eat more or less what I want. I'll still be good, but, like, if I want to have a cookie,
Yeah.
I'm going to eat a cookie.
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping me from eating a cookie. I don't have a fight to worry about.
Right.
But when I have a fight coming up, you know, you got to cut that stuff out. When
Yeah.
fight camp starts, you got to start cutting that out. As the weeks pass, portion control. Just cutting down on portions, substituting certain foods, sweet potatoes for potatoes.
Yeah.
You know, eating, I don't know, let's say more fish and shrimp instead of like beef.
Yeah.
And chicken. And then just drinking a lot of water, staying hydrated. Portion.
That's the biggest thing.
Throughout every couple weeks or every week, you know, portions get smaller. You substitute things. Getting rid of salt.
Yeah.
Getting rid of salt's horrible, bro.
It sucks. Everything tastes like nothing.
I've tried Mrs. Dash. I don't know who said that worked, but until they make a Mrs. Dash adobo,
Yeah.
I ain't having it.
Not fucking around with it.
No, I can't. I grew up on sazon and adobo. I can't.
Yeah.
It's hard not having anything with that on it. I try to eat and I want to kill myself. Like, not really, but like I'm like, yo, I don't want to eat this.
Yeah.
This is disgusting. I'd rather throw up.
Right. Yeah. That's the toughest thing, because you know, shit that tastes good, that's literally all it does, is it tastes good. Like, once it goes in your stomach and through your body, it's kind of not giving you any benefit.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas if you're eating nutrient-dense meals, they taste like shit and they're boring. But that's the biggest... That's... A lot of guys lose the fight in that aspect, in the mental discipline that it takes to diet and cut the weight down the right way, you know?
Yeah. That's honestly kind of the worst part.
Yeah.
Of a fight.
It's gotta be.
The weight cut's really like the worst part. The fight itself can be scary.
Yeah.
Getting it, like, not even prepared for the fight, but like day of, face-offs, getting in the cage closes, you haven't fought yet, they're still announcing things, you're like, come on, just
hurry the fuck up.
come on, let's just get this over with.
Yeah.
But no, weight cut. That last week, weigh-in week.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's the one week I hate the most.
Yeah.
And all in my head I can think is, I can't wait to eat this motherfucker's soul. I don't even care about food. You're putting me through this misery right now.
Yeah, I want to fucking... This is getting taken out on you. He's probably thinking the same thing, too.
Probably.
That's what it is. That's what, again, makes it so interesting. You guys both have these... You're both going through a similar struggle, and then it's going to result in,
somebody being victorious.
Yeah.
Somebody's going out on their shield. Somebody's, rising up in the ranks.
Yeah.
It's all for glory.
Yeah. Right. That's what they fucking say, right? How is it getting paid to do it now? That's got to be pretty cool, right? That's what you were fighting for.
I worked for years to finally get paid. Worked for years.
Yeah.
Now it's here, and it really feels cool, And same thing with that, more notoriety. It's prize fighting.
Right.
The more draw you have, the more you're gonna get paid.
Yeah.
And I attribute Kim K for this, but Connor showed it too with MMA.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if you have a good reputation or a bad reputation. You can.
Did you say Kim K?
Yeah.
It's true though. You're right.
Come on.
Yeah.
I swear society kind of changed after that tape.
Yeah, you're right. You get famous off of nothing now.
Yeah.
Damn near nothing,
I mean, I'll not take away anything from like the Paul brothers, like that enterprise that they pretty much built.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
Without the notoriety that they have, no one would give a fuck about them.
Nobody should.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. They're like, I like what he's doing. I don't know how genuine he is about the whole thing, trying to get MMA fighters paid more.
Right.
Or if it's another like kind of stunt thing. But regardless, like, who cares about him?
Yeah.
Who really cares to see him box?
Yeah.
To pay why is he getting paid that much to box when there's actual legit professional boxers that did this for years or still doing it, and they don't even get paid close to that.
Right. It's like Rocky being in the Boxing Hall of Fame. That's a legit thing. Like Rocky, the fucking character, Sylvester Stallone, is in the Boxing Hall of Fame, and there's guys that fought for ages that didn't get that opportunity,
Yeah.
But it's I was gonna say something about the Paul brothers, and it fucking slipped my mind. Oh, I love the way Canelo addresses any questions that anyone asks him about them. He's like, I don't know who you're talking about. Let's keep going. Like, let's talk about some actual boxing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Right.
For what?
This guy doesn't get... And I love I think it was when CM Punk was trying to, break into MMA and shit. And someone asked Nate Diaz, and he had a similar thing. He's like, that guy don't get to fight me. He's like, I've been doing this faithfully for fucking 20 years or however long he's been doing it. He's
exactly.
Like, that guy he hasn't earned to fight a guy like me.
And he showed it too.
Yeah.
He showed it when he fought. He didn't deserve to be in there.
It's a money grab. And he's got a name, so the UFC's like, yeah, let's do it.
He didn't deserve to be in there at all.
Right.
I'm not saying he didn't work hard. Probably did work really hard.
Yeah.
Making it to WWE is no easy job. You got to work hard for that. So I guarantee you he has a great work ethic, but to acquire the skills in that amount of time...
2 years, whatever he did. No, it's... If you really wanted to... I mean, he was like 38 at the time. If you really wanted to test yourself, you'd compete against similar competition. Like, genuinely test yourself. Like, I don't know if in his mind he really thought, hey, I'm going to go in the UFC and actually get a win. I think he was going in there to, like... I don't know. I guess see what he's made of. But you can totally do that against legitimate competition in I don't know, a regional scene or some shit. But it was a money grab. So he's not going to do it.
100%.
He's not going to do it for cheap, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That shit is weird. Celebrity fights. That's been like a thing for a little while, though. Like Shaq fought Oscar De La Hoya like years ago.
Yeah, they've always done that. There's always been like, they did Ali versus
Antonio Inoki
yeah,
years ago.
in Japan.
And that was like stupidness.
Yeah, Inoki laid on the ground.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Worked somewhat. I mean, it was boring, but it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all it is. It's celebrity fights, weird matchups.
Now, did you know when you started at Triforce that you'd end up fighting professionally and getting paid, or was it kind of I'm gonna start here and see where I end up?
I found the gym. I liked it. I liked the environment. I liked what I was learning, and it was nice because I'm from Pawtucket and it's in Pawtucket, so it was convenient.
It's close.
I mean, I decided to fight, took my first fight, and it was like a domino effect in my first fight. Fight wasn't necessarily going my way. I hit the kid. In my opinion, I hit him, and I think he didn't like it. Because then for the rest of the fight, he just kept trying to take me down. Mm-hmm. And he was taking me down. But after that, it was just relentless.
And you're talking about MMA now?
Yeah.
Okay.
My amateur debut.
Yeah.
Ironically, side note, the kid who I made my amateur debut against in November 2017 is actually fighting Gary for the title.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So yeah, Billy Goff and I had a fight, and
a little bit of history.
Yeah. Now he's fighting Gary for a title. He's a year after we fought, he was already pro.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he moved it along fast. I took my time. I also had some injuries and stuff too that I had to get fixed. But yeah, no. I forgot where I was going with that. Side note threw me off.
Yeah, no, you were talking about what got you kind of the domino effect and how your first fight was.
Yeah, Pete was telling me to do something in the corner after the first round. And then in the second round, he called for it. And I did it. And it just after I did what he said, it was like 2 or 3 like adjustments or things that I had to do. And I ended up winning the fight because of it. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, all right. I learned. I was able to keep myself pretty safe. I didn't really get beat up for the most part. Dominated a little bit, but he was wrestling hard. But I came out victorious. Really, not really scathed. And I felt good and was happy to actually feel like I had a real coach. It was a long time since I felt like I had a real coach.
Right.
So since then, it was kind of like, you know what? Let's see how the next one goes. But from then on from that first fight, it was kind of like, okay, I think this is the place.
Yeah. It was like the catalyst got you going. One of the best things to watch in all of sports, I think, is when obviously this happens only in combat sports, is when fighter goes back to the corner and their coach tells them what the fuck they need to do because they're the third party. A lot of time they have a different perspective on what's happening. And the fighter, the athlete, has enough confidence not only in what the coach is saying, but in what their ability is, that they go out and do exactly what the coach says, and it works.
Yeah, you have to trust.
Yeah.
You're training, you're learning all these things from somebody. Why wouldn't you trust them?
Right.
You ask them to be in your corner. Why wouldn't you listen to them?
Right.
That makes no sense. Sometimes it can be hard when you're tired, but if you're always constantly just trying to hit the A button, I use video game analogies for this, but if you're just constantly trying to hit the A button to do the same move, it's not guaranteed to work.
Right.
You're telegraphing. And that's what ends up getting you hurt. That's what ends up you losing. So you have to switch things up. You have to be open to changing something on your own because you notice something, but also, like you said, that third party. It's like having, it's like having your own angel right there watching your back, telling you, hey, watch out for that. Hey, take control of that. You know what I mean? Look for this. Right. This is where you're going to see some openings and strike for it. Like, if you don't listen to them, then that's foolish. And it's kind of like a slap in the face to them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and on the contrary, on the flip side of that, it's incredibly devastating when a coach kind of isn't willing to switch up the game plan. They're like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be fine.
You hear that in the corners, UFC fights. It's like, you're telling him to do the same shit. He's been getting tagged.
Yes. Like when Anthony Smith fought Glover Teixeira. I don't know if you watched that.
I didn't watch it, but I saw the highlights of this man handing the ref his teeth.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
Very bad. And the whole time, he goes back to his corner. He says to his coach, he's like, hey, I think my teeth are falling out. And the coach goes, all right, I know. We got to keep going. And it's like the fourth round, he's getting his absolute ass beat. And it's like, there comes a time where your coach also needs to save you from being, because you're going to fight. You're a fighter. You're going to fight until.
That is true. You don't see it as much in MMA as I think. I don't even know if they do it a lot in boxing, but I feel like they do it more.
Like
throwing towels.
Yeah. They definitely do.
Because that happened in the one smoker fight I did. I put the kid on his ass.
Yeah.
He got up after like looking at his coaches and they're like, get up. He gets up. And I just started throwing bombs.
Yeah.
And just clipping. And he was just rocking, and like spinning from me hitting him. And then they threw in the towel. But right. I feel like you won't see that in a UFC fight.
No, that's true. And it is strange.
Was that a title fight?
Smith and Glover? No, I don't think so.
No.
I think it might have been an eliminator because Glover went on to.
Yeah, he won it after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it definitely does happen a little more in boxing. And sometimes you're like, as the fan, you're like, that's kind of questionable. But then you kind of watch the replay and you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like when T-Bud fought Sean Porter recently, he dropped Sean like 2 or 3 times. I don't think the 3 knockdown rule was happening. And Sean's dad is his coach. So after he dropped him like once or twice, he's like, he threw the towel, and everyone's like, that was a little early, and in terms of, fans and whatever else, they're like, that shit was early. But then you watch it again, you're like, his coach, his dad probably sees where the fight is going, and he doesn't want his fighter, it just happens to be his son as well, he doesn't want his fighter to take punishment that he doesn't need to. And sometimes the ref won't stop it, and it's your obligation to do that.
Yeah, you mean the fighter himself may be mad.
Yeah.
But that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
They're there to look out for you.
Yeah, exactly. And then it sucks in Deontay's case. All the excuses, firing his coach.
Bro, he sat there. What is it, the second Fury fight? He sat there and said that it was the fucking suit.
Yeah.
He was tired from wearing the suit. Your ass wears one of those every fight.
I know. Just this one, it fucked you up.
So if that walkout with that suit tired you out, were you training?
Right. That was a short ass walk. It's like 3 minutes from your room to the fucking.
And you took your time too on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. He said the water. He said his coach was colluding with the other team. It's like, take the loss, bro.
And then he lost again.
And then he lost again. He did. He lost again. He did make adjustments in the third fight, but he lost again. And part of it was probably because he was too big. He seemed tired when he fought Tyson the third time. But Tyson's he's too good.
Yeah, Tyson's a beast.
He's far too good. I don't know if anyone's touching him for a little while. One thing I wanted to ask you before we wrap this up, what's your ideal span of time when it comes to a fight camp? If you could have, all the stars align. Or what you plan for,
At least 6.
6 weeks.
At least 6 weeks is nice.
Yeah.
Anything more than that is a plus.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
But 6 is like perfect.
Yeah, there probably comes a time where there might be I know boxing camps are long, like 10, 11 weeks, and they're doing less, arguably. Doing less in terms of different disciplines. They're only boxing,
Yeah.
Whereas I would think in MMA, a fucking 12-week,
Would be more
13-week
common.
camp. What happened?
I said you would think it'd be more common.
Yeah, you would. But in the same token, there's also the idea of like the law of diminishing returns. Like eventually you might be doing too much.
But what does it say? Boxing's not doing the same thing. They're also training one discipline.
Right.
Whereas with MMA, like you said, you're training boxing, you're doing kickboxing, you're doing wrestling, jiu-jitsu. Maybe you're experimenting with some taekwondo style kicks, trying to do spin kicks and
Right.
capoeira or whatever. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different shit to learn.
Yeah.
The wall, in my opinion too, for MMA, the wall is its own element. It's like it's using the cage, especially because it has a bounce effect to it.
Yeah.
Or just a wall which doesn't. It's its own element. It's your best friend and your worst enemy when you're there. Whether your back's against it or if you're pushing somebody's back against it, it can work for both of you.
Sure. It's a whole nother place that the fight can go.
Yeah.
Because you can say fights on the feet, fights on the ground, but now you got the cage, like you said. There's a whole nother dimension to it.
Yeah, it's wrestling on the cage is different from wrestling in the open.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, the cage work is some of the fucking toughest shit to do. To practice, to fight, to train. Like, that's grueling as fuck. To be on the cage, grappling, fighting for position, fighting inside. Like, that shit's tough. And it's a testament to these guys' conditioning that they're able to do that and then maybe break off and then fight out in the open again, or break off and end up on the ground. Like, MMA athletes have to be some of the most conditioned athletes in the fucking world. It's crazy.
Yeah, it can be tough sometimes, especially when you're training for a fight.
Yeah.
Like this past Wednesday was rough.
Wednesdays are always brutal over there, man.
I was already tired from Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday was long. A lot of rounds.
What's recovery look like for you on when you're really fucking beat up and sore? Like you said today, you're kind of resting.
Yeah.
Is there specific stuff you do?
So I was training hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I was pretty beat up. Like my body was feeling it Wednesday and Thursday. So I didn't train Thursday or Friday this week. Plus we also had the little iciness this on Friday. So the gym ended up closing, but I didn't train Thursday, didn't train Friday. But then, we went up to Joe Lozon's gym.
Oh, dope.
And she goes, we'll go there on Saturdays. Joe's a dope guy,
Yeah.
It's awesome getting to meet him. I remember using him in the UFC games because he's from Boston. I'm like, all right, that's close.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I got to use this guy in the game. Now I know him. It's kind of cool. But
He's a vet.
yeah. But we were there, got some rounds in there with his guys and a bunch of guys from around the area that go to his gym on Saturdays for rounds. And yeah, today's just a relaxed day. Went food shopping. Tomorrow, back to work.
Back to it, yeah. That's great. Well, hey, man, thank you very much for coming on the show. We'll just wrap this motherfucker up.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. When is the fight? Where can people buy tickets? And where can people find you as far as social media and shit?
All right. Social media. Nah. The fight, March 4th. It'll be at Twin River.
Yep.
For CES. So I'll be making my homecoming. I'm excited. I know a lot of people are excited. And for those that don't know me, they're about to know me. You can get tickets from me. I got some tickets still. I'll be in the gym every weekday from 5:30 to 8. Or you can hit me up on Instagram. I don't have an athlete page. I just have a personal page that I just throw everything on. But it's at LISKLO. Yeah, It's not my name. It says Young Thunder. As you can see, I don't like social media.
Yeah, I feel you.
I don't even have my name, but that's me. You can tell the page will have all my fight stuff. Yeah.
There you go, people. If you're in the area, come check them out. Thank you all for listening to the show today. Follow the show wherever the fuck you listen. What else? Links in the description. I say this every episode and I fucking forget what I'm even trying to say. But that's it, guys. We're done. Peace.